Hello and welcome to This is Cohousing, the Cohousing Podcast. I'm Charles Durrett, your host, author, principal architect at the Cohousing Company, and I coined the word cohousing. In today's episode, we're discussing good and healthy food in cohousing and how to enhance how we already think about food. Co-housers are often very discerning eaters and care a great deal about the health of their children, families, and the planet. Our guest, Vesanto Melina, expert on this topic, and she lives in Vancouver Cohousing, has an amazing resume. Vesanto, MS, registered dietitian. Most recent books are Planet Powered Protein, The Kick Diabetes Cookbook, and Becoming Vegan, the comprehensive edition, Davis. Have won awards internationally and received star ratings by the American Library Association as the go-to books on plant-based nutrition. With over 1 million books in print now in 10 languages, Vesanto has taught nutrition at Seattle's Dietary University and the University of British Columbia, and was lead author of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics latest position paper for the full life cycle on vegetarian diets. Welcome, Vesanto.
Thanks, Chuck.
Certainly, breaking bread together is the most timeless form of establishing or at least maintaining co-housing over the years. Community in general is fueled by breaking bread together, facilitated by people at dinner time. For example, hey, I'm taking the kids to the zoo on Saturday. Do you want me to take your kids too? In other words, breaking bread together is central. One of the things I want to get to is various meal programs around the US and Canada. There's a variety of meal programs. A couple of rules that are steadfast, like if you have dinners together, you will have a more vibrant community. There's just no doubt about it. It's proven over and over again, especially in Denmark, where they actually track this stuff. If you have dinner more frequently a week, you have fewer people to cook for, so it creates a sustainability, unlike having meals like one time a week or even 2 times a week. There's a co-housing community in Denmark who's had common dinners 7 days a week since 1981. And they suggest that that is the number one reason that they have 750 people hours a week of usage at the common house. Most people agree that that is the most usage of any co-housing community in the world. And they set it up from the beginning to be very high functioning and accomplish that. They would be the first to suggest that dinner is the number one glue that holds people together.
Well, I've visited, as you know, a lot of co-housings, 24 so far, and mostly in North America, but a few in Europe, in Denmark. And I found their arrangement with common meals to be quite different. Some of them haven't managed it very well at all. So sometimes when I've gone, they've arranged a potluck and everybody came together and had such a great time. And some are just on this kind of spontaneous potluck idea. And the one I live in, Vancouver Cohousing, has a brilliant setup that I've been so impressed with. And the one person who wanted to have this happen, Brenda, was the real pioneer of how to make it work well. You know, how to get people involved on a regular basis, how to have them sign up for meals.
No, that's key. We have dinners 5 nights a week officially in the Nevada City Co-housing, and I'm on the meal committee, and we do whatever's we can to make sure that everybody's signed up to cook once a month. I just made a trip to Spain, and I was gone for 2 weeks, and I just signed up for dinner at the airport. And then the day I got home, I had dinner waiting for me in the common house, and most importantly, I got to reconnect with all these neighbors that I'd been away from, my people. What do you guys use to sign up for dinner?
I'll start to tell you about our little system. Managers put out 2 spreadsheets. One of them is the sign-up sheet for who wants to prepare food and clean up, and one is the sign-up sheet after that for who wants to come to dinner that day. Yeah. So we have 3 meals a week, and we indicate which of the meals were available to cook. Everybody, like your situation, is expected to take part once a month. Some person might just write one day. We also write which we're available to clean. So you can either write that you'll cook, you'll clean, or you'll do both. When people are going to cook their, um, what is it, quinoa dinner with marinated tofu on Thursday, they will send an email out and then people sign up. They might be out of town that week, or they might have a guest coming, which is fine. So they sign up that there's 3 people coming from our household. And then we know that we've got 23 people coming. They don't know the price at that point because it hasn't been shopped for yet, but they they will sign up anyway. And then we have 3 cook and 3 clean up. So we've got these little trios coming out. The trio that cooks the meal and prepares it is the one that decides what they're gonna have. And I think the people managing the trio creation, they have fun doing it. We'll put these 2 together and these 3, and
They do a little social engineering.
maybe, I never asked them that, but it seems to work that way.
When I lived in Trudasloan, which is a co-housing, they had 7 nights a week except for 1 day a month, they didn't have common dinner. And what they did on that day is they had dinner in 5 or 6 houses, 4 or 5 households per house. The cook club, their job was to figure out whose house it was going to be and who their guests were gonna be. And they engineered it so the guests were people that didn't normally talk to each other and that didn't normally talk with the hosts either. And so, in other words, they were definitely doing some social engineering. They were getting people together. And it is true that having dinner together is a bonding experience. But when you cook with others, it's an extremely bonding experience. I mean, I got to tell you, when I first moved into Nevada City co-housing, I found myself giving the people that I cooked with the benefit of the doubt always when it came to the common meetings and other topics that we had together to discuss, because I knew them so much better if I've cooked with them, and I cared about them more now that I know how careful they were with dinner, how much love they poured into the common dinner. So there's a lot to be said for the creation of relationships and making dinner and having dinner. When you've had dinner at somebody else's house, like this private house, you're in your best behavior. When you're hosting dinner for 4 or 5 people, you're on your best behavior. And under those circumstances, you really learn to appreciate the other individuals, grow to appreciate their strengths, and not just think about their weaknesses.
That one of my passions in life is plant-based eating, but also is how to not create wars in my head. And so I find co-housing tremendously helpful that way because it gives you lots of opportunities to either be judgmental or kind or just to really look at that and go, "Huh, I don't really know what that person's life is like," or, "Boy, I didn't know they had all those skills," or just have the fun of connecting over creating.
That's gotta be the best part of co-housing, don't you think? The growth. I have to say that, the number one thing that I like about my job is how many people tell me they appreciate all that they learned in co-housing about getting along with others.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
The person who started Stillwater Co-housing, the second podcast in this series, she said that one thing she liked about living in co-housing is how much growing she continues to do, and in particular, how she has learned to dissect a little when she is in a disagreement with another resident, she asks herself, "What is my part in this disagreement?" I thought that was profound, frankly, and it's true. You really get to the point where you realize I'm not immune from rattling others, and others rattle me, but I can rattle others too, and I don't wanna do it. So how do I, adjust my behavior so I'm not doing it?
That's a well put, beautifully put. Yeah,
Oh, I hate it.
yeah.
How much advance warning do the cooks have to have about how many people are signed up?
We put in our email that you have to sign up by 9 o'clock 2 days before, whatever they
Mhm,
need for shopping.
that makes sense.
And then people come along at the end and say, "I just got back and I hadn't signed up. Is there anything left?" Occasionally, there's that.
I have a rule of thumb in 33 years of living in co-housing, 3 different co-housing communities. I've never said no to somebody who's coming in late. So far, knock on wood, I've so far been able to accommodate everybody, and most people do. It's amazing how many times I think I've signed up and I forgot to sign up, and I'll say, w with my hat in hand, I'll say, "And can I please sign up? I really wanna have common dinner tonight, blah, blah." And so far, so good. I really love that Arabic saying, "A table set for 4 will, accommodate 5," basically.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
It's really at a true and accommodating ism of some sort, and it's really true. We have 5 dinners formally, but we also have a lot of things like potlucks and other things. I'm not a big fan of the potluck program because that ends up being work for everybody.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I have to worry about what I have, what I don't have, and do I have enough? Am I going to be judged in comparison to everybody else's? So we don't do very many potlucks. The whole idea where I live is you cook dinner once a month with another person. You shop, you cook, you clean up, and then you have 20 more meals that month that you can just come to and have dinner. Sit down with commune, be convivial with your neighbors, and not have to jump up and do anything. So I really like that system. We don't do potlucks very often for our regular dinner 5 nights a week, but there might be a hiccup in the dinners that week, one thing or another, and somebody will just say, "Let's have a potluck." Fridays are a very popular time to and sometimes they're entirely spontaneous. You just see 2 or 3 people bring their dinners to the common house, and then 4 or 5 other people join them.
Oh,
Do you guys ever do that?
we do have things like that in our special events. Like we just had our 10-year anniversary of moving in and starting this community. And yeah, we had people bring things. So yeah, it's pretty flexible that way.
Did some of the original members who no longer live there come to the 10-year
Yeah, we
anniversary?
had a lot of people. Lot.
Did
Maybe
Britta show up?
no,
Oh, that's too bad, she was very germane in the beginning.
she
So,
was.
she had a very sympathetic story.
Yeah.
Physical therapist who treats brain damaged babies. So, Britta came to her brother and I, Jonas,
Yeah.
and said, "When I get home, I need a community."
Yeah.
And so, Jonas and I got busy looking for a site. It took us about, 6 months to find that site. I made, like, 3 or 4 trips to Vancouver because she motivated us,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
we did what we had to do to make that thing happen, and it was fun. It was a fun project to work on all the way through. The whole design process was really fun. What are some of the most popular recipes at, Vancouver Co-housing?
Well, a lot of people like to be very exploratory. And then we've got the ones that are tried and true favorites and the ones that are really simple. So there's quite a range. For example, you can't lose with something like a rice bowl with all the different toppings that people can add. And typically here that one's plant-based, but you've got the kale and the lettuce chopped up that's growing in the garden if you're lucky enough to have greenhouses and rooftop gardens. And you've got the grated carrots and you've got the tofu just beautifully marinated and baked, or you've got all the different colors and all in little bowls. And people can come along and choose what they want for their plate, or their kid wouldn't like that, but they like that. So it works very well. Choose from a beautiful assortment on the general table, and people walk past and pick what they want. If you've got some limited stuff like avocado, you have to dole it out by the spoon at the beginning, yeah, or sometimes it is more expensive or something like that. And then there's just this is a really easy one, is your absolute favorite soup, like a black bean soup. Then go to that bakery that's around the corner that does really gorgeous breads, and then you can put out different spreads if you want, like, vegan margarine or regular cow's dairy butter, different things like that. So that's a simple one. because people can usually manage a soup even when they're not very skilled. There's things like chili. We've got an easy peasy chili in our plant powered protein book. Then you can have cornbread with that.
I want to come one night you cook. I'm going to see you in 3 weeks.
I know it. I'm cooking that night.
Oh, right on.
Ah,
What are you going to do then?
on purpose, purpose.
Right
I
on.
was gonna ask you what your favorites are.
My favorites. Well, last night I made quinoa and then I added raisins, sprouts, beets, and onions, and just lots of stuff like that that my audience loved. So I was very happy.
They're very colorful, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was very colorful and very tasty. And that's my new diet anyway, because I'm having this inflammation problem. So
Yeah.
I'm getting away from like breads, potatoes, starches of every kind, nightshades I can't eat at all. And, what we do in general around who's vegetarian, who's vegan, people who are on special diets would be to make what you can eat for your common dinner. It's interesting to me. We've lived there for 20 years now and I've kind of memorized everybody's idiosyncrasies, like who can't eat garlic, onion, who can't eat citrus. We all just kind of accommodate each other. Some of them are hard. The garlic and the onion one is really hard, but I make a special little small saucepan for that person.
Well,
Tonight I'm going to common dinner
yeah.
and they're having pizza and salad. So I'm eating 2 portions of salad and somebody else is eating 2 portions of pizza. How do you guys accommodate special needs in the diet side of things?
We do something similar. We have a list actually on our fridge of who's celiac and allergic to this. We don't have peanuts in our common house or peanut butter because we've got one person who's anaphylactic allergic to peanuts. But for most meals, like say that one with the soup that I mentioned, the main soup can easily be gluten-free. And if we have bread with it, we also make sure we have gluten-free bread available as
Mhm.
well. We're careful about that. So
Oh,
typically in some of our meals, we've got a column for plant-based and a column for meat. If
mhm.
which means typically chicken or sometimes fish. Our meals are not all vegan. I'd say about half are very plant-based and half include something like chicken. We've sure moved away from beef, considering that it's a probable carcinogen, and moved away from bacon and ham since those are convincing carcinogens, but always there are vegan options if vegans are coming to that meal. It's not that hard to accommodate. And exactly what you said, like you can take the soup ingredients out before you add the garlic and onion
Good.
and just put it aside in a little pot. And it doesn't make a lot of extra work that way.
They can add whatever they want to add. Yeah, I might have 2 or 3 little saucepans going off to the side. And, I hear from people who don't live in co-housing that must be a real pain in the butt. Something happens when you really give a damn about your neighbor. It's not a pain in the butt.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just another thing you do, like picking your kid up from childcare. You wouldn't think of not doing it. "Oh, I'm just gonna let her sleep there tonight." No, I wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. Nobody would do that. And, and the same is true for if I know somebody can't eat it, I wouldn't serve it to them. And so and it comes down to love at some basic level, and breaking bread is the most timeless way of fostering community, no doubt, but it's also been a means of fostering care for each other. Like, we've had a number of people be sick in our co-housing over the last 20 years, and somebody taking them soup for their own personal dinner and caring for them at that level, it's quite meaningful. It's quite
Yeah.
meaningful.
Oh, we also do put things aside for people. Then people who are doing the cooking will just put that aside for them with their name on it, or even deliver it to the door, as you say. So with our spreadsheets, we have another one that's sign up to eat, and on this one, everybody's household is listed. Then they write how many servings they want. They might want 2 that are plant-based and 1 that isn't or something like that. And and then if it's a takeout, there's a 3rd column where they can write that.
I
Yeah,
mean, we've tried to not become a takeout dinner because we had a problem at one point where people were even if they were eating at home, they were doing takeout. But since we have dinner so frequently, it's not like noise is an issue in our common house, but sometimes it is for the 2-year-olds and sometimes it is for the 82-year-olds. So they were having dinner at home. So we're all just becoming conscious of the milieu to the point where there's people who are very anti-churn. And I learned that from the Danes. In Denmark, when you come to common dinner, which was usually at 6 o'clock, you either showed up no later than 6:05 or you went back home and you showed up at 6:30. And that had everything to do with helping the children stay calm. Because when Joe walks in the door at 6:15, they might get very excited about seeing Joe. They haven't seen him forever. And all of a sudden, there's not only churn, but real noise gets amped up. So I love it when co housing groups decide we're just having dinner now. We're settled. We're just like we're having dinner at home. There have been people in my co housing community who've said, I really don't like it when somebody stands next to somebody sitting down and talks about some co-housing business. Hey, I'm going to move those branches next Monday. Can you join me? And it's funny how it pretty much stopped. Basically, that becomes the culture. You have dinner, you come on time, you appreciate the person who put it on the table, and you appreciate the other diners by not contributing to the noise, not contributing to the churn. I don't know. Is there any traditions like that in your co-housing, Vasanto?
Well, we've let people do takeouts quite
Mhm.
easily because for some
Right.
families, it really means something, and they're just exhausted, and they like to have some family time, and it seems to work okay. One of the
No, we let them too.
Yeah.
We're just, you know, there are people like me who says, I'm not here to just be your cook.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want your company.
Oh, that's true, and that's a good one. Yeah,
And now that doesn't discourage people from having dinner at home if they want to, and they can always make their own dinner at home too.
yeah,
Um, and if we can make your life a little bit more convenient and practical, and certainly cheaper, by having a common dinner, then great. But the norm is that you try to be part of the company.
uh-huh.
We want your smiling face too.
Oh, that's good.
We want your wise words and your thoughtfulness. And I want to know if you're going to the zoo on Saturday so my kid can go with you, et cetera, et cetera. What time do you guys have dinner?
6.
6 every night? All
Yeah,
3
well,
nights?
the Sunday, they have a bit of flexibility because the trio can decide they wanna have a brunch or they wanna have it right after the community meeting, if there's one. They have a bit of flexibility for the Sunday.
That's exactly like it is where we are Monday through Friday. It's at 6 or 7, but on the weekends, the cooks get to decide what time. Not everybody can cook during the week, so we give the flexibility. If you wanna cook on the weekend, then just pick a time. Cost-wise, we have a rule that if you spend more than $7 per person, you have to absorb the last bits of that cost. But we actually have always encouraged people to make dinner for 450, $4, 450, and we mostly accomplish something in that range. It's amazing when you're cooking for 25 people or 30 people. You're doing everything in bulk. Certainly, you can go to the grocery outlet and buy food cheaper. You can go to the farmer's market and get fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. We managed to keep the cost down, not to mention, I hear the biggest praise about our common dinners is the next morning you can go to the common house and find leftovers from last night and take them for lunch.
Right, yes.
And that's free. That's in Emeryville, where I lived for 12 years, you couldn't raid the refrigerator until the next morning. And here it's kind of the norm that you don't raid the refrigerator until the next morning. But if you have extra quinoa, people will just take a couple scoops, put it in the we have lots of plastic containers, yogurt containers, and they'll just take it to work with them and maybe add something or maybe not, or maybe something's already added. What do you guys do cost wise? What are your dinners range?
They're usually about $5 Canadian. Sometimes 7, sometimes 3.
Oh, it's almost a competition where I live. There was one woman, like she was 80 something, and she would get dinner down to 250 and then she would brag a lot about it. Be- Everybody right?
Yeah.
So she knew she was saving money for everybody by
Yeah.
having it be 250. So I it was and I wanna talk about what you consider the most responsible earth diet and the most responsible health diet that we can do.
Well, we're finding, from the Eat Lancet report, which, it was 2019 and then one recent one, 2025. I think they've got 60 authors, the main people around the planet that care about environmental sustainability and diet and health. They're finding that if you want health of people and health of the planet, you really need to move more plant-based. That doesn't mean you have to be 100% vegan. I've been vegan for 33 years, and I've really changed my concept about it over time because I used to think like, "Hey, vegan's the way to go, like, it really works for health," and what I realize now is that well-planned vegan is the way to go. Some of the research on plant-based that isn't 100% vegan is showing that that works really well too. Some of the things we really have to take into account when we're moving in that direction, and I help clients with this from all over North America and in Europe and different places, but we need to sort out, of course, getting the protein at a sufficient level. Sometimes co-housing recipes for community are not quite high enough in protein, but it's not that hard to do. And then we also need to address things like when we're looking at somebody's individual diet, like the omega-3 fatty acids, the things that come from fish, DHA and EPA. And fish actually get their omega-3s from microalgae. But we're just starting to realize how much we need. You don't need to eat fish, you can go directly to the source. Microalgae supplements. Another one that's very interesting is vitamin D. Our official recommendations are based on research decades ago because we haven't been able to figure out how to update them. It seems to vary so much depending on whether people are out in the sun and whether they're wearing clothes that cover their body. But I was speaking recently in Honolulu and Maui and found that about half of the seniors and many people, young people that were skateboarders, are low in vitamin D. And this is surprising, like Honolulu, that's a very, very low latitude. And
Mm.
we find that in San Diego, in San Francisco, in LA, that people's vitamin D is often low. So we're not sure it's, partly people just get in their car and drive into the parkade. They wear sun hats. There's smog. We're not sure why, but we're finding that a lot of people on any diet are short vitamin D, also things like calcium. So I like to have meals that are really complete in these respects because we've wanted to do the quantity ones that are popular with people in co-housing.
What would you say to somebody who's feels a little intimidated by cooking for 20 to 25 people?
Well, we do have people that are intimidated. So since they're in a trio, one person likes to take the lead. You know how there's those different kind of people. Some
Yeah.
people wanna take the lead and they wanna decide what's to be cooked, and some people are glad if they just are shown where the spoons are, and they'll be glad to jump in and help. Some people just have different skills, and it seems to all merge and work quite well.
Do you guys have do you get the kids make dinner there?
Well, if we have kids doing it, it's with a little team of adults, so that they'll be included in the mix, and, yeah, they'll be
That's
definitely
smart.
going and gathering lettuce, or they'll chop it, or they're just, taking part in things. What
And
when we moved in here, I think we might have had 20 kids since then somehow arrive on the scene. And we so a lot of them are getting to be teenagers now because we're at 10 years. And they like to have a kids table, which is kind of cute. They all gravitate to it. It just has started the kid thing has been evolving and taking shape and so on, so that's been fun to see.
Do in Denmark, it's not that big in the US, but in Denmark, the kids start making dinner at 15, and they usually are 3 or 4 or 5 people participating in making dinner. What do you guys do about children participation in meals there at Vancouver Co-housing?
Well, these spreadsheets for people write if they welcome children participating. You know, we have the blessing of having a lot of musicians in
Mhm.
our community, so we get some extra events. Even at the beginning of COVID, we had music every night in our courtyard.
I
We've got
remember seeing it on YouTube.
yeah, we had it. We've got a bass player with the Vancouver Symphony. Oh, 2 bass players actually, a cello teacher, a violin teacher, a drummer for Doug and the Slugs. There's at least 3 other musicians that are at a professional level. So, we have a lot of musical events. Some of the community building comes that way.
No, that's a cool thing. In fact, we have quite a number of musicians too. Our town is very music inclined. And another incentive to coming to dinner on time is there'll be a musician in the common house, usually for like 15 minutes before dinner and 5 minutes after dinner starts. And then the music is over. And we have a world class harpist, and we have a we have great violinists and such. So they'll play before dinner and up till dinner is getting started, and then they'll sit down and have dinner.
That's great. Are we
I
lucky?
know. Yeah, we're really lucky. I mean, there's nothing like harp music at, up till dinner, and everybody if they know that Lisa is playing, they'll come early and be ready to sit down right when everybody else is sitting down. At some level, I kind of love the fact that our co-housing and my co-housing in Emeryville was kind of a glorified dining club, dinner club. It was kind of interesting because if somebody made dinner for you last night and it was dynamite and your time to cook dinner tonight, you kind of want to return the favor. So people amp up their game. They read recipes
Yeah.
and where they didn't otherwise read recipes. They pay attention to what they're doing.
That's exactly right. People
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
We had a funny thing happen in the kitchen. When people move into co-housing, often they're coming from a bigger house. So they've got this extra instant pot or 2 toasters or whatever. So we found that all the equipment we needed came from people who were moving in our and we've got a pantry with all this stuff in it, muffin tins, and people in their slightly smaller house didn't wanna keep it there. So what we had to buy for the kitchen was a broom and dustpan. That was it. Y
We had to buy good knives.
yeah, yeah, so there's hardly anything.
I know, but hardly anything.
Yeah,
Hardly
that's
anything.
right, so
No, that's true. And the same thing happens in the wood shop, in the workshop.
yeah,
Is that there's enough tools come our way that we're fine. We've been fine from the beginning. That's really saying something where Vesanto lives because it's 31 houses on 0.61 acres. So in other words, it's a relatively dense place.
and about 30, fruit trees.
Oh wow. See, what you guys are pulling off is pretty cool.
It's
It's
good,
pretty cool.
it's really good, yeah.
Yeah. And soon you'll have another neighbor, well, and relatively speaking, with Compass Co-housing in Langley.
Yeah, they've got a lovely place, yeah.
Yeah, can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
You guys have all these gardens.
we have 2 greenhouses, and we have a kids garden too.
You also have all these planters around the site.
Yeah.
Are those private or what are they?
You can have the one in front of your house if you wanna look after it, and not everybody does. Some people are more elderly and not that capable or just don't like gardening. Then they offer it up and it gets snapped up pretty fast by somebody else, then they can plant what they want. We all can plant what they want, but we've got, of course, the teams, so we've got a landscape team.
Right.
They can connect with each other, about how to where to garden and what's available.
So in front of somebody's house, they're planting it themselves. and they have a couple juicy bell peppers. Does anybody ever help themselves to one of their bell peppers?
We haven't run into people, nicking other people's stuff, no, but we have a little shelf near the common house entrance where people can put stuff, have way too much kale. For a while, I had to really think up kale recipes because kale grows really well here, and we had just masses of it, and so I was trying to think up of every delicious way you could have kale.
How about zucchinis?
We could, but they're so cheap and they take up a lot of space, so we haven't done huge amounts of zucchinis.
Right on. It's impressive how much you guys do grow, and I love hanging out in your courtyard. It's a horticultural wonderland, not to mention a social wonderland. The social dynamics in combination with the green garden, you feel like you're in the Garden of Eden somehow.
So we're sitting outside and the little girl across from us will walk across to our place. Cam and I sit outside and have breakfast or lunch a lot of days. She'll come over and she'll say, "What are you having?" And then we'll tell her. She says, "I like that." So, of course, guess who joins us?
Well, sounds like a blessing,
It
frankly.
is a blessing, yeah, it's been a lifelong friendship. Yeah,
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 right, exactly. Well, I've sat at your front porch many times and I love it. I love just you got the front row seat to all the dynamics,
that's right.
horticulturally speaking or socially speaking in the
Yeah,
community for sure. Vasanta, you've lived in 2 different co-housing communities now, Windsong
yeah,
and Vancouver Cohousing.
yeah.
How do you think it has affected your life trajectory, made you a different person?
Oh, I think it really has. It's been wonderful, and I had my 2 little ambitions in life. One is about the plant-based nutrition because I've been a dietitian for 60 years now, and I was interested in the evolving health aspect, but I also realized, when I look around the world, I'm heartbroken about, you know, Israel, Russia, the US, the leadership that's happening, and people don't know how to get along with each other, including me. And so I really wanted to learn, like, how do you manage when that neighbor's pesky cat keeps pooping on your favorite garden patch? Or, there's little things that can just blow up. In one community, I know a dog that actually bit a caregiver that was coming in. So we've got these things that happen, and in community and co-housing, we can learn how to deal with them better. That's an internal thing. I was from a family that's quite powerful presenters. My one sister's a stunt woman, the other's an actress. I've published 15 books now. We're all like out there doing stuff, but I need to learn how to go inner and be more sensitive to this other person. And co-housing helps me really do that. Get all these chances and I blow it sometimes. And then I learn how to do it a little better next time. And we've got a heart team that's forming and is helping people to learn how to manage what can be very challenging situations for them.
That's fantastic. What do you think, co-housing has to contribute to the world?
Well, when people are interested in living in community, it's really a good step to take for the world to learn how to manage to coexist. And, some people, want to be isolated more, but it's really a good step to learn how to do this when people want to live in community. So one of the things I like about architecture that you've created is, for example, that our kitchens look inward. So people can see each other all the time and they know that there's the neighbors are going by and you can say hi. And you also have the option of putting your blinds down and nobody comes and knocks on your door. So it does give you both the privacy and the connection. I think it's just a wonderful, so I really credit you tremendously Chuck, for
That's sweet.
what you've done in getting this to happen in so many parts of the world. I noticed that 6 of the provinces in Canada out of 10 and 34 states have co-housing now. I
Hey,
think
we're just getting started.
yeah, yeah,
Down here and up there.
yeah.
If I'm coming to Canada in mid-May, and I'm doing a talk at the University of Fraser Valley, and I'm doing one in Nanaimo and one in Courtenay. And I expect to get at least one more, if not 5 more co-housing communities started just from that round of book signings.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they tend to have a ripple effect. As, Alan Carpenter said, it's like we threw a concept into the pond and it's had a ripple effect, and I think he's right. Have you listened to his podcast, Alan Carpenter?
No, I haven't. No, I
Oh,
will.
you should. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it immensely.
Well, my co-author lives in Courtenay, um, and he's a real environmentalist, so I'll put you in touch. Yeah.
Well, just tell him to come to the Creekside Co-housing, 6 o'clock on Wednesday the 20th, and you can always look on our webpage to see where I'm headed next.
It's great.
Thanks to Cam Dorr, one of my heroes, no doubt about it. I wouldn't have done this trip if Cam wasn't willing to be so much help, as usual, right?
Yeah, right. We're actually just putting together my husband's doing this, a little website of, quantity recipes. He's been having fun doing it. So, people can look at my website, nutrispeak.com or plant-poweredprotein.com, and we do nutritional analyses of all our recipes.
You'll also find out all that's on the description of this episode. Hey, I really want to thank you for being here today. But I also want to mention that if this conversation resonated with you at all, please consider subscribing, rating this episode, and sharing it with somebody you believe might be interested in living in a sustainable neighborhood where people know each other, care about each other, and support each other. Or tell somebody you know who cares about food, because Vesanto's views, they're profound, frankly. As always, you can find more information about everything we discussed today on this episode's description, along with our website, cohousingco.com, where you can also find our many books about co-housing, courses, events, and signups for our newsletter. I can't recommend reading the books enough. Find out real information, and you will probably be more interested in living in co-housing. Hey, I really want to thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Chuck. Yeah.
You're welcome. Have a great afternoon up there in beautiful downtown Vancouver.
Okay.
Right on. Good,
Okay.
good day.
Good health. Bye.